I would recommend, if you want to be diversified, talk to your customers about what they're trying to do, and they'll tell you where you can spend your time and where they're going to need your help. It's a different way of looking at the market. People will tell you if you're relevant or not, and they'll tell you if what you're focused on is relevant or not. And unless you're paying your own bills, what you think is relevant doesn't really matter. And that's a hard lesson to learn.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Incident Report presented by Quest Technology Management. I'm Paul Burke, Director of Technology Communications. Every week, I'm joined by VP of Sales and Partnerships, Adam Burke. The Incident Report brings you conversations with thought leaders, business innovators, and channel mavericks to help you stay productive and agile in a changing technology landscape. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Incident Report. I'm your host. I'm half your host. Across from me, Adam Burke. How are you doing?
Good, Paul. Excited to be here. Episode 74. We keep it going, keeping it rolling, rocking in the free world. Happy to be here.
Usually, this podcast is us going through a series of stories, Adam giving insights. But today, we're not just talking about stories. This is kind of like Adam's sermon. Is that a fair assessment, Adam? You have thoughts?
Paul, we got a rundown.
You want to share?
We got a rundown we're going to go through.
The rundown.
Okay? We got a rundown. We got things to discuss. We got activities going on in the marketplace. We got some things going on. Now, the rundown for today from the top, we got some VMware issues with Broadcom continuing to be a challenge. And, things continue to change on a daily and weekly balance, and that kerfuffle, if you will. We've been seeing some disintermediation trends, around people in the channel doing some different things, vendors going direct. Economic cycles getting a little tight, and when that happens, people tend to take some shifts. So we're going to talk a little about that. And then, we haven't talked about it in a little while, but a lot of our world is around distribution and working with partners, and what's new and different with some of the TSBs getting consolidated and rolled up into larger and larger organizations, and what that means for our friends out there on the street, selling and helping people. So what podcast would we have if we didn't mention some of the shenanigans going on around AI? I think it's maybe 3 minutes into the podcast and I said AI. I apologize. Mm-hmm. But those are the things I'm seeing out there, Paul. That's what I'm seeing out there when I'm talking to folks.
Don't apologize. Adam, people are here for your insights. They're here for wisdom. Which one of those three do you want to tackle right now?
I think the big one that we're seeing right now, and one of the things that's affecting a lot of people, is the situation going on with VMware and Broadcom, and how that's affecting just the general marketplace, just people able to refresh, get renewals, get pricing, plan their business operations. It's a difficult situation for a lot of folks, but I think it's a good lesson around diversification being the only free lunch in town, right? You have to have diversified options and solutions, and not necessarily tie your business to, one or two vendors. In our world, we're an MSP, we're a VAR, we have great partnerships with the manufacturers, with OEMs and suppliers, but at the end of the day, we're a customer of theirs as well. We happen to be a channel to help them distribute and sell their product to our customers who it can help, but we're also a customer in ourselves. We subscribe to, purchase, invest in capabilities that then we turn around and provide those services to our customers. So we're a customer too. So this is talking to partners, and this is talking to end users. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. I know, sorry for the cliche here, but as a managed service provider, there are organizations out there who have standardized a lot of their practice on VMware, and if your business is a battleship going across the Atlantic, you can take some blasts, right? You can take some hits. Businesses that take more than a 5 to 10% margin hit, if you build your business around one service offering, and that service offering, for whatever reason, goes into the questionable category, which VMware licensing and a lot of that is kind of in the questionable category right now. That's very damaging to a business. So the lesson of what we're seeing Broadcom do, it's capitalist structure. They're doing what they're doing. It can hurt some operators out there. So good lesson learned. Diversify service offerings, and you can weather some of those blasts a little bit better.
So here's my question: that diversification is it takes a lot of resources, though, doesn't it, to be diversified, to educate yourself on products and services? Do you think that's one of the reasons that so many just get behind like a VMware and say, okay, that I'm just going to be talking VMware. How do you deal with that? It's nice to say, hey, be diversified. What are some actionable steps? Which I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Are there things that people can do that you're like, hey, this is a really great, easy way to diversify quickly?
Well, so the way we do it and the way we've been successful doing it is rather than building a company to position something, build a company to accommodate a client. So a lot of organizations build their companies that, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go sell VDI. I'm going to build a practice. I'm going to recruit engineers. I'm going to recruit sales folks. I'm going to research the total addressable market. Anytime you hear total addressable market in a sales pitch or an investment like portfolio, hold on to your wallet because you're about to get scammed. So that whole idea is I'm going to build a unit to go pursue an opportunity. We've talked about this before, right? Gold rush, right? Don't be the sucker going into the California foothills who's going to freeze to death looking for gold. That's a very
Mm-hmm.
dangerous business model. Unfortunately, it's a lot of the way that the market's structured right now. And it's a lot of what the consultants and the vendors tell you to do. Go to any vendor. I don't care what it is. And I love our vendors. Love you guys. You're fantastic. But they're all going to tell you you need to build a specialization and a practice around something that in the future is going to be there, right? Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. Not the way I would recommend doing things. I would recommend if you want to be diversified, talk to your customers about what they're trying to do, and they'll tell you where you can spend your time and where they're going to need your help. It's a different way of looking at the market. Most of us want to have egos and we want to go be the leader and go, I'm there, this goes back to like ancient times, right? The buffalo's over that hill. No, this guy says the buffalo's over that hill. Well, if you choose wrong, you die. So you have ego built up around the idea of I'm going to be correct. I'm going to build the right practice. I'm going to pursue the right opportunity. Cool. Everyone's built that way. We're all wired that way. You got to flip it. You got to flip it on its head and say, no, no, no. We're a capable organization. We got great engineers.
Mm-hmm.
We got great talent. We got great capital. We got all the parts and pieces that need to go into this. Go talk to people, see what they're looking for. They'll tell you how to be diversified. They'll tell you what you need help with, and then you focus your efforts, based on that input. It's not perfect. You might not be the early adopter on certain technologies, and that's okay. That's you know to those who get it right, congratulations. 90% of the people who guess go out of business. That would be my only point on that, Paul, is kind of flip that on its head a little bit.
So you think a lot of it has to do with ego?
No one in sales has a big ego, Paul. We're all just humble servants.
Humble stewards.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with ego and trying to be right and trying to control as much as you can. But especially in technology, if you think you can control something, man, you're gonna have a rough go.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that Tim and the Quest team is so successful is that we go after the whole how can we help mentality. We start with listening and then move from there.
Yeah, and people tell you if you matter to them or not. I mean, people tell you pretty quick. I got 20 people who can help me with this, or hey, I've really struggled to address this issue. Can we sit down and talk about how we can, mutually assist each other here? People will
Mm-hmm.
tell you. People will tell you if you're relevant or not, and they'll tell you if what you're focused on is relevant or not. The problem is a lot of times, and I was on a call this morning with someone who's going to build a practice based on what they think is relevant. And unless you're paying your own bills, what you think is relevant doesn't really matter. And that's a hard lesson to learn. People should be doing this. You should be adopting this strategy. You should be adopting this. You should be integrating with AI. You should be moving. We heard about this 10 years ago. You should move all of your services to the cloud. Really? Why? Well, because you should. Oh, okay, cool, sweet. No, it's not. There's not a slam dunk reasoning for any of this stuff. It's a lot of it's ego driven. So just picking that apart a little bit, ask questions, be curious. It can help you.
Let's pick some more stuff apart. How about TSBs? What's going on?
TSBs. Yeah, the TSB consolidation is an interesting one. We hear from partners all the time. Some of them are super excited about it, right? Some are super excited about like the new capabilities that are being put together, the engineering support, all that type of thing. But we're also hearing a little bit of challenges around, some of the bureaucracies that are going into place right now. Some of the notifications, registration processes. A lot of the TSBs are kind of going from that regional bank, your local credit union type of provider to Chase or Bank of America or these massive behemoths that have these huge processes in place to open up a checking account, right? So I think people are going to continue to see that. I think regional players are going to start popping back up here a little bit. I mean, there's really the big three or four TSBs that everyone knows in the marketplace right now, and they're doing a fantastic job. They're doing great. They're helping more and more people come into the channel and sell services. But it is interesting to see how some of the TSBs and some of the agents out there are being challenged by a little bit of that bureaucracy. At least what I've been seeing is
Hmm.
some of them are recruiting people to be exclusive. I've heard some exclusivity requests out there. Here's a funny one. I thought this was hilarious. One of the reasons that independent operators become independent operators is because they don't want to deal with the corporate world. They don't want to deal with sales quotas or KPIs or entering all your stuff into Salesforce or whatever it might be. Starting to hear from some independent agents out there that there are quotas starting to be attached to sales incentives, right? Which is ironic because that's one of the reasons that organizations go out on their own. They don't want to deal with quotas. They don't want to deal with, key performance indicators that sometimes micromanagers can get a little too involved. But some of the TSBs are taking that same strategy to help manage and incentivize their partners. Now they're doing it with cool stuff, right? Money and prizes and trips to President's Club and things like that. But I won't go entirely unfiltered here. But it's starting some chatter out there around what the heck is this? Why would I deal with a quota?
Got it. So chatter code for we're not fans of the change.
Yeah, it's you can. I'm kind of talking around the issue here, but yeah, people have vented a couple times, and I would love to. We have channel partners coming up. It's a big event in March, and I think I'm going to be really curious to hear from the independent folks out there who run their own business. Hey, what are you liking about this consolidation? What are you not liking about it? What can people be doing better? We're a supplier to a lot of that market, and love to hear from our partners as far as what's working and what's not. And I think that's going to be a great opportunity for everyone to kind of level set, and just be responsible and thorough and tempered in Las Vegas, like everyone usually is.
Is that one of the benefits of channel partners that it kind of gives everybody? You mentioned level setting, like a chance to get together, get the temperature of changes. Do TSBs also, do you feel like they listen at channel partners? Are they very conscious
Yeah,
of the chatter out there that they're experiencing?
they're all doing a great job growing their businesses. They just have to figure out what's next, right? They have to listen. Their customers are the agents, right? So
Hmm.
they don't service the end client. Their end clients is the agent and trusted advisor and managed service provider communities, right? That they support. That's their customers at the end of the day. So channel partners or the national events are an opportunity for those organizations to hear and understand what's really going on. The challenge is a lot of organizations have kind of, taken, funding from different organizations, private equity, and private equity has a target around growth and a target around, margin and EBITDA expansion. So, you kind of serve a couple masters there, right? You have your customer, which is the agent community that wants more features, functions, responsiveness, capabilities to service their clients. And then you also have the private equity community that wants higher margins, higher revenue, grow that EBITDA for the next iteration, of the investment cycle there. So all the huge acquisition stuff all started happening 19s and 20s and things like that. It's now 2024. We're coming up on that 4 to 5 year cycle of
Hmm.
investments. And it'll be interesting to see how people are repackaging things and what the next move is going to be. But channel partners is a great opportunity to hear people, listen to what they're up to, and kind of see what's gonna happen next or what direction folks are gonna go in.
Nice. And what are the dates of channel partners?
March 11th to the 14th in Las Vegas, Nevada. I think it's at the Venetian Convention Center. And yeah, it's always fun, always a good time. Everyone usually comes into town for that, so it'll be fun.
Great. That sounds like a lot of fun. Adam, on your list of things to discuss today, you have disintermediation. I did it. I nailed it. I probably can't say that word again, so that will have to suffice.
SAT word, disintermediation. Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of what we were just talking about from a channel partner standpoint. So disintermediation is the idea of organizations going direct to the end users, selling directly, and kind of squeezing the middleman, if you will, from a resale perspective or from a service provider standpoint. The channel exists to help organizations bring their products to market, position, and educate, and help deliver. Oftentimes, that can be taken for granted at different times in the economic cycle. Right now, a lot of people would say we're in the late stages of the economic cycle, heading to recession. They have, and I have been wrong for the last 18 months, saying that we're heading into recession. It has not happened yet. But you are seeing signs, and you are seeing things where people are trying to capture as much revenue and as much margin as they can, because quarter over quarter, year over year, the street and the market only cares about one thing. They care about growth. They care about profitability. And if you're being judged quarter over quarter or year over year, you got to do better than last year. You got to do better than last quarter. You got to grow. You got to expand. You got to do more. One area that can be targeted to improve your numbers today, short-sighted though it may be, is the margin that your middle people and your distributors or your resellers or your managed service providers, you can go after their margin, right? Because if 80% of your business goes through the channel and you need to improve your margins a little bit, you can maybe squeeze out a chunk of that channel and keep more for the house. And that's what you're seeing happen in some of the investments we've seen. That's what you're seeing happen in some of the publicly traded companies. They're making strategic decisions on renewals to cut out the middlemen. So again, same lesson that we talked about with VMware. You got to be diversified and you got to understand. It's uncomfortable, but every vendor that comes into our office, one of the first things we ask them is, how do you get paid? As a rep within an organization that you're representing, how do you make money? How are you gold? What's a good opportunity for you? What's a win for you? How are you judged? That's how people are going to behave, right? If they behave on, if they're incentivized on certain things, they're typically going to behave in a manner that supports those incentives. So right now, it's really, really tough to have good year over year numbers in the software space. We're seeing NVIDIA, they've had explosive growth. I mean, massive, ridiculous growth over the last 12 months. They're up about 50% at least they were up about 55% in the last 6 months. In the last year, they've gone up over $465 a share. They've gone up over 226% in a year. That's a hockey stick style growth. And one of the things, not saying this is the exact same situation, but something we saw back before the dot-com bubble burst. I think we're kind of in a little bit of an AI bubble. But one of the things you saw back when the dot-com bubble burst was Cisco was huge. It was one of the big four during that time that was exploding in growth. And one of the things that they were doing was they were investing in companies that were then standardizing on Cisco. So they'd invest in underlying companies, and then that organization would standardize on that route switch stack, and they'd buy back in. So it was kind of like it was this ramping of significant, huge revenue expansion. Well, one of the reasons the revenue was expanding so fast was because organizations that were invested in by these organizations that were going hockey stick were one of their main investors. They were buying their main investors' stuff, right? I caught an article on CNBC the other day that was highlighting that some small caps in the AI space, their stock prices popped and went up pretty significantly because it was disclosed in NVIDIA's earnings that NVIDIA was a major investor in that startup. There were about 20 of them. Well, one of the things that those startups all do is they all buy into the chipset that NVIDIA has, right? So that can stop, right? That whole hyperscale growth, like the hockey stick going up, in the stock market, that could eventually pause. And eventually, it always does. I don't know when it's going to on this one, no idea, but it will. It always does. And you need to be ready for corporations and organizations to start making decisions when things contract. Nothing's contracted yet. I mean, the S&P's over 5,000. I think it's over 5,000 these days, and it's not showing any signs of stopping right now. But that's eventually late cycle activity like this can cause some issues longer term. And you just got to be ready for it. I strongly suggest being diversified.
Diversification important in a downturn. Adam, would you say education is important in a downturn?
Education, understanding what's next. How can you help people listen to customers, what they're struggling with?
Now, let's say I wanted to learn more, Adam. Was there a resource, a boot camp available that one could become more knowledgeable and perhaps more successful in the future?
Funny you should mention that, Paul. We do actually have a boot camp series starting April 3rd.
What? Is that true? April 3rd?
It is true. April 3rd, we're going to be doing another boot camp series. It's the second iteration where we help channel partners understand a couple different service offerings, go through it, break it down into how you make money in a certain area. All the tech, all the speeds and feeds, high level talk about that, but we're really going to focus on how you can incrementally improve your business, give some actionable plans, real case world examples of things that have worked for us that we want to make sure are available to our partners that they can leverage and help grow their business, diversify their revenue streams, and help their customers achieve what their customers are trying to do.
And it's not about being an expert.
You don't have to be an expert. That's a great point.
That sounds amazing. Adam, anything you're looking forward to this week? What's coming up?
So I'm raising money for a couple charities. I'm running 100 miles this October in my first 100-mile race. And this weekend, I'm actually coming up to your neck of the woods in Auburn, California. Going to be running the Salmon Falls 50K. Training run this weekend. Got a 50K. Got to get it knocked out this weekend. So I'm excited for that. So next week, I'll let everyone know how it goes.
This is part of the training block.
Yes. The first time I ever ran long distance, I ran a marathon and I exploded around mile 18 because I didn't train for it. It was brutal. I finished, but it was ugly. So fast forward about 10 years. It took a little while. I've hired a coach and I'm going to do it the right way. And this is part of my training block. So
nice. So in October, you're running 100 miles. In October, I'm going to watch a man run 100 miles.
Yes.
So
you get some great drone footage. And you're going to make ultra marathon running exciting, Paul. And you're going to make a documentary on it. It's going to be fantastic.
Ooh, I got a new camera, Adam. I'm very excited about it. So I'll bring that.
Great desertscapes. You're going to knock it out of the park.
I'm very excited this October and April 3rd. I'm excited about both.
Good deal.
Well, Adam, mission accomplished. We did another episode, episode 74. Thank you out there for listening. Adam, please let us know how the Salmon Falls run goes, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks so much for listening. The Incident Report is brought to you by Quest Technology Management. With over 40 years of experience, Quest is a leading technology integrator working seamlessly with your staff and systems to achieve your IT goals. Learn more about everything they do at questsys.com. And if you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can always email Adam and myself at theincidentreport@questsys.com. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.